like you're still watching Power Breakfast right here on Citizen TV, and we continue with our news review this morning. And joining our panel is David Ochieng and Pifu Genya. We are happy that you could make it. Karibu sana. We had apologized earlier on and actually excused you because we were told that you were beaten well, but we can see your feet as a fiddle. And it's good to know that. And now we want to discuss the State House Summit on Land that happened yesterday. Remember, this one comes the one preceding this one was the one on governance, where corruption was really discussed, and that's where the president famously made the comment that there's nothing he could do, and the helplessness that came out of that particular summit was felt across Kenya, and the discussion about corruption continued for weeks on end. Now, yesterday, another emotive debate. Of course, the land issue cannot be pushed away. It is something that will keep on being discussed every election year. Every new regime that comes, the matter of land will be discussed. Now, the problem about yesterday's summit was the promise made by State House the previous day when they made the announcement that they were going to hold the summit. And the spokesman for State House, Emmanuel Isipisu, said the TJRC report was definitely one of those things that could be discussed. Of course, matters of land injustices, historical injustices. Who are these people who own large tracts of land? That issue still did not come out yesterday. The story is on the front page of the Standard, and if I could just read something short here. State officials dodged the emotive land ownership and distribution question, stating that there were no clear records on individual size ownership. It was widely expected that the officials would provide details as to who owns the largest tracts of land in the country during the summit on land reforms and ownership held at State House. That did not happen. So the question is, have these summits being held at State House become a PR gimmick? Let's start with Ibon Njogubaro.
Wow. I think, first of all, I didn't have the benefit of watching the full length of proceedings, but having omitted that section of who owns what, I think that's something Kenyans would have actually liked to know, because of the injustices. Because we are aware also there are some people who owns more than others. Like I personally don't own any piece of land in Kenya.
Dangerous.
And I also think I should deserve, and I represent many other Kenyans who are in my situation. The other issue is that apart from who owns what, you have so many smallholder farmers, somebody owning an acre, 2 or 5 or up to 10, who are still up to now having a problem of ownership because there are no clear records, and their lands are being encroached and being amassed by the wealthy people or powerful people. I think to me that's also very important, to ensure that people who own small acreages, people who do not have access to power, are also protected by the regime or by any other regime that will come. The other issue is which is critical to me, is the ownership of land by people who are not from the local communities. For example, Rift Valley, the land issue has been very emotive, and I think people have been fighting all from time to time, maybe from 1990s, try to evict one community or two communities or other communities from that area. It is important for the minister, also the government, to assure Kenyans that they are free to live anywhere in Kenya. If I am a Kikuyu, for example, and I have a land in Turkana, I should be able to live in peace. Just like the way Turkana should be able to live in peace in Kenya. So national harmony is very important, so that we can be able to have a homogeneous society. We cannot afford to have a Kenya which is actually defined by the tribe. For example, when you talk about Western Kenya, what comes in people's mind is the Luya. When you go to Nyanza, is the Kisses and the Luos. We need to get a mix of these communities settling everywhere, so that we can be able to bring the new face of Kenya. Okay,
and allow me to bring in Bwana Ochieng into this conversation, because he's yet to make a comment since we started this news review. Of course, what was expected was a genuine discussion on the real issues that affect the land matter in Kenya. But what we ended up seeing is just the government listing the kind of bureaucratic processes they've made, some progress in the land ministry, the process of digitizing the land register. Is that what really we were expecting from these summits?
That's what I was expecting, Fred. I was expecting exactly what happened at State House. that the government of Kenya has no reason to engage Kenyans on a sober and open debate on land. That what they would do is that it would be to enumerate the way they always do. That we've done this, we've done that. You know, what Kenyans are worried about is not what you've done or what you've not done. The land question in the country has been a motive largely because of lack of transparency, lack of openness in the way land is owned, and lack of clear methodology of acquiring and basically securing property. And so, first of all, on TJRC report, I wanted to just absolve, in my opinion, the government, executive branch of government, from blame, and to put the blame squarely on us as Parliament.
Yes.
And my friend Honorable Malo sits in the House Business Committee. Now, that report has been with us for the last 3 years. More than 3 years, actually. The first thing we did when we came to Parliament was to pass a law, a 2-line law, actually, in 2013, that will enable us change the content of that report. And we passed it, and I think the President signed on to it. So the idea was that after that law, probably, if anybody had fears, then that law was supposed to cover them. So then you'd imagine that we would have brought the report for debate, because it has been tabled. It is not with the executive anymore. It's with Parliament. And so there's a failure on us as Parliament to list it for debate. And this is what happened is most of the things that are of course emotive. You find that sometimes they don't get their way on the floor. So on the TJRC report, my opinion is that we need to finally discuss it, open it up for the public to know what was in that report. Because, Fred, I don't think there's so much smoke that we cannot see what's happening in land, whether in Taveta or in Nyanza or whatever place. There's a way in which you can see what's happening in there and address the issues.
Yes.
So I think we need to do that as Parliament. And now, two, my other bigger problem with land is not even about where people live and all that. This city where we live in, Nairobi, we have people speculating. People literally every day looking for Upper Hill. Can I get some quarter an acre and sell it? Can I get some quarter, an eighth of an acre in Loresho or even in Umoja and sell it? So that people look at land very, very differently in this country. And this is simply because of the value you put on land. We are not putting a utility value. We are not saying that land can be used for production and all that. People look at land as means of getting riches. And you know how many people are going to reach without working a single day by just having land. Having land allocated to them by the powers that be. And so I think the land issue is an issue that all of us will have to debate and agree on how we want to handle it. Because we and especially my side of the coalition, we tend to put it so much about we will address it. We'll address it. Jubilee says we'll address it. If you ask someone how, you don't get an answer.
And that probably this discussion was is something that needs to be handled outside, away from State House.
First and foremost, I want to say that the issue of the land summit that was in State House, it is just a mere PR exercise. It is a waste of time. As a matter of fact, this summit, you must have some deliverables. And anybody discussing about the issues of land is a very critical factor in production, and it's a very emotive issue. And what the summit is supposed to have done, actually on matters of the land, we are supposed to know the ownership, the distribution, and the issue of giving out title deeds. That's very, very critical. We've had people in this country have stayed on the land, and for years they've never gotten their title deeds. When it comes to the courts, you've seen today's paper, I think a headline on Standard, most of the cases that have delayed, it is about issues of the land. So to me, what I had expected the summit in State House, first and foremost, I expected His Excellency the President to be there. The way he has been there on the issues of governance, summit, we had infrastructure, why did he miss? That's the question. And he missed because maybe he'll have opened a Pandora's box, because he's one of the big shareholders or the owners of land as far as this country is concerned. When you look at the Jubilee Manifesto, clearly they had stipulated how they're going to ensure the equal or equity distribution of land. But the Jubilee government has failed. And that's the reason why, in my own opinion, why the president skipped. He was in State House. And it's been, that has been the trend, that he has to be there.
Yes.
The matter of TJRC, these are very critical reports that you can't run away from when you're discussing about the land issues. So the issue of TJRC report was not even discussed. Once the report has been tabled in Parliament, that is a public document. And it plays a very critical role. When you look at some of those recommendations in the TJRC reports, they touch directly to our president of this country. So the reason why this issue, the matter was not handled, I think it was too hot that they could not handle. And it loses the meaning. And maybe this is the highest time we should stop these PR exercises of having these summits, which are inconsequential. Absolutely. And they should move away from State House. Maybe go to Bomas of Kenya or KICC.
For general
absolutely. I don't see any value that this issue is, I mean, this thing is adding up. When you look at there was a time the TJRC, I mean the NLC, the National Land Commission, they had issues with the Minister for Land. In terms of jurisdiction, who is in charge of this issuing of title deeds? I think they went to court for Supreme Court for advisory. And you look at NLC, the National Land Commission, its critical role now is just issues of historical injustice. The other day I had an opportunity to meet Swazuri when the same plane. I asked him, where are these reports of historical injustice? In this country, when it comes to matters of land, there are a lot of historical injustices. Yesterday, on the parliamentary committee, we've just come from Samburu. The Samburu people there, they've been occupying this land for ages. They don't have title deeds. You are told other people have taken over. The historical injustice in this country on matters of the land is very, very critical.
Yes. Bwana Barak Muluka, do you agree that, as Bwana Chris Omalo says, that State House does not necessarily provide the best platform to have a joint conversation in some of these matters?
Indeed, I've been here, but first of all, let me say very clearly that I'm not Swazuri. Some viewers out there like telling me they think I'm Swazuri. I've only seen his pictures in the newspapers, and that I've got nothing to do with land issues in this country. These meetings in State House, I have said before, are exercises in window dressing. They smooth over issues. They are supposed not to penetrate issues. They're just supposed to give government a good face, a good feel, which is good because every government has got the responsibility to make itself look good and feel good and be loved. And to that extent, we give it to them. But to the extent that we are citizens of this country and that we expect solutions to our problems, they don't realize anything. The last one on corruption was about the president shooting down people he thought were doing things that he did not want to be done about his government. He intimidated people like the Auditor General and others who are trying to engage in the war against corruption, the judiciary. He was basically telling off people. He stayed away from this one, and I must also sympathize and empathize with the president. Certainly he himself and his family are among the largest landowners in the country, but he's a beneficiary of something that happened before he came onto the stage. One would have expected that he would, given that kind of history, avail himself of the opportunity to be part of the solution to the problem. The land issues in this country go back to very early on, 1903. We know between the year 1903, 1939, through a variety of ordinances, all the way in London, land was acquired, was alienated, especially from the people of central Kenya, the people of Rift Valley. And when Mheshimiwa is here, Mheshimiwa, you must be like J.M. Kariuki. You must take this bull by the horns. When we talk about the suffering and the land issue in this country, the people who bear the brunt of this land issue are the people of Kirinyaga, they are the people of Nyandarua, and others from central Kenya who are displaced from their land, the ancestral land, between 1903 through the acts of Charles Elliot, whom you remember very well, all the way to 1939. We see Harry Thuku, we see